Hello gorgeous people, how are you all doing today? I hope you're well. I'm okay, plodding along still. We're actually getting a little bit of sunshine coming through. Just for a moment though, otherwise it's another really cloudy day, goodness me. But fan to hand as always, because the windows are shut because of sound. Yeah, it's warm. The weather's gone a bit weird. We're just into July now. Still not sure when you're going to see this video, probably more towards the end of July, but anyway, yeah, the weather in June was way above average, the temperature. Tons of sunshine, wall-to-wall sunshine, gorgeous. Really glad I made the most of that time to get the garden planted, get everything in, and not just to get the garden planted, but to really just spend a lot of time outdoors. Loved it. It looks, I've checked the forecast for the next 2 weeks. So what's the date here? I think it's the 2nd of July today, don't quote me. And I've checked the forecast for the next 2 weeks. And it looks like kind of cloud every day, sometimes a bit of rain, but also the temperature's well below average for July. So I'm coming on to something where I'm going to say, actually, I don't mind about the weather. Glad I made the most of it in June. It's another day indoors today. I hope that little bit of rain that has been forecast, I hope it happens, because I'm not in the garden much at the moment. I'm completely neglecting it. I need to get back there soon. We'll see. Other stuff going on, you know. And I know that probably my plot neighbours will keep an eye on things for me. So, the reason I don't mind if I can't be in the garden is because we're coming into my favourite time of year. I'm such a summer baby. I adore the summer. You all know that by now. Love being outside, love being in the sunshine, love being in the sea. It strikes me actually that the things we're going to talk about today are a bit of a continuation of a theme, both of that theme of joy from things made from paper, a bit more of that today, and sort of the joy of summer and the seaside, clouds. Can you see how the light, I don't know how much the camera picks up because the camera works really hard to find any light and use it, but I can see these shifts between bright and dark. Anyway, gosh, Vivi, keep on track. Yeah, the joy of summer, being in the sea, by the sea, on the sea, all of that. Cream tea, I didn't even sort out a cream tea. Never mind. Anyway, so I love this time of year for a number of reasons. The warmth, the association of, it's mine and my sister's birthday in the first week of July, and that often means a trip together or doing something, and quite often it'll be by the sea. But of course, also, anyone who knows me well, who's been watching for a while, will know it's my joy time. Wimbledon and the Tour de France. I think without doubt, I don't need to think about it, without doubt, my two favourite sporting moments every year. They're my two favourite sports, tennis and cycling. Cycling, whether it's road or in the velodrome, but I absolutely love the long races, the tours, the grand tours. I love gymnastics and athletics as well. They're my two other favourite sports. But yeah, I'm tennis and cycling all the way. So this time of year, I am a pig in mud with sport. And every year I do kind of rush to do as much as I can in the garden by the end of June, so that I can work from home work. The idea is, you know, that this is the time of year when I do some sewing sewing essentially, or, you know, tarting up of the flat, whatever it is, but so that I can be at home with the radio on, or I can watch the Tour de France. It's on Freeview. You can watch it on ITV Play. Is it called ITV Play? It doesn't matter. Anyway, yeah, I'm happy. So paper stuff. Okay, paper first, because it all ties in. I was mentioning about newspapers, wasn't I? So I was mentioning about newspapers for the puzzles. Those lovely friends of mine who gave me a load of puzzles a couple of weeks ago, they've just dropped another load off to me, which is fabulous, thank you. But they also dropped in it's the sort of like pull-out guide to the championships, and it's great. Obviously there's kind of like write-ups on different players, the top 8 women, the top 8 men, what to watch for, who to look for. But I really love, oh my goodness, I love me a wall chart. Can you see that? I'm such a nerd. I love the sport, but I love statistics. I love number crunching. So yeah, a wall chart is just utterly perfect. Thank you so much to my friends for dropping that in. It's perfect. Can't wait to start filling it in. Yeah, brilliant. I've already read it cover to cover. Of course I have. But this kind of reminds me of a little incident where my sister caught me out. So, and okay, this is weird. You know how things happen? I love this kind of synchronicity. Sorry, excuse me a second. I was having a sleepless night again the other night, and I ended up watching a rerun yet again of an episode of QI. It's one of the episodes since Sandy Toksvig has taken over. I can't remember the context, but it came up and she was talking about how there's a whole generation growing up now who don't understand the concept of being abroad and hunting high and low for a British newspaper. Because of course today folk have their telephones, pads, their mobile devices with internet roaming, etc. So you've got kind of like a newspaper. You've got the whole world's newspapers in your pocket if you've got a phone, haven't you? But I'm definitely of the generation that would hunt high and low for a newspaper. If I was in France, I can just about read French well enough to get the gist of a French newspaper, but other languages, no. So there was one year, I was thinking about this, I think I was turning 22 and my sister was turning 25, or it was 23 and 26. Details don't matter. So we were sharing our birthday. We were in Greece on a little island. Yeah, it was a little island. I was just having a whale of a time. And we decided one day, because we're loopy, to hire some bicycles. We decided we would cycle a loop of the island, following the sort of the coast road. We would try and cycle the whole island. Oh, it was just brilliant. It was so brilliant. And the idea was that we'd cycle, and if we went through a pretty village and we saw a little taverna that looked cute, we'd just stop and have a snack or stop and have lunch. We can take all day at this. We can be out for 12, 13 hours. There's enough light. We just stop wherever we fancy. And the gorgeous thing about it was that, obviously, my God, it was hot. It was so hot. I think it was probably about 38 degrees, but dry, so dry. So every now and again we'd be cycling and one or the other of us would just shout out, "Swim!" It's like, yeah, okay, I agree. So as we're cycling, if we see down there a pretty little cove, a little beach, deserted, it's away from the sort of the touristy towns, we just like sort of freewheel down onto the beach, dump our bikes in the sand, leg it, just run, into the water. Oh, it's an almost indescribable joy to cycle, be so hot and sweaty, your tongue is hanging out, dry as Gandhi's flip-flop. See a beautiful beach, tiny little beach, deserted, and just run into the sea. Gorgeous. Anyway, back to the newspaper thing. So on that day, God, she's a sneak. she's got a photo of me. I'll try and dig it out at some point. I might whack it on Facebook. She took a photo of me because I was holding a copy of a British newspaper that until then I would have probably shouted from the rooftops, "You'll never catch me dead reading a copy of that newspaper." The Sun. So if you're outside of the UK, the Sun newspaper it's a real rag. It's such tittle-tattle, nasty gossip. It's rubbish, it's absolute rubbish. But it was one of those occasions millennia ago. It must have been about, I can't remember whether it was 1989, 1990, I think 89 we went. Yes, I was turning 20. Anyway, so yeah, it was the days before the internet and all that. So we're out on our bicycle ride, and we were sort of passing through a little village, and there was a newsstand, and I was like, wait, hang on. So I went over, and I had it. The Sun was the only English newspaper they had. So I grabbed a copy. So this picture, it's a really cute picture, is me standing, but I'm sort of straddling the bicycle, and I'm leaning on the front handlebars, and you can see the front of the newspaper, and I'm reading intently. And the reason you can see the front of the newspaper in the photograph is because I'm reading the back page. And the back pages in the UK, I don't know about in other countries, that's your sports pages. So there we are in Greece for our birthdays, having a whale of a time, having this wonderful day cycling, swimming, but I still wanted to know what was going on at Wimbledon. So, you know what, in fairness, she read it after me. It's like, well, you've read The Sun too. But yeah, the now infamous photographic evidence of Vivi reading the Sun newspaper. Dead cute. Yeah. It's funny that, isn't it, to think that that was always it was sort of almost a fun part of a holiday, wasn't it, trying to find an English newspaper. When we were in France, obviously by then we're well and truly in the technological age, but I still don't have a smartphone. I don't do any of that gadgety stuff. So when we were in the south of France, I picked up a copy of The Guardian is a daily newspaper here, but they also do something called, I think it's called Guardian Weekly, and it's a sort of a roundup of the big stories, but it's what they call their long reads. So each article, it's not so much sort of like headlines and just a little bit, it's more like a little essay, a journalistic essay. So yeah, when we were in Nice, I managed to track down a copy of The Guardian in English to read. So there I am, on my sun lounger in Nice with my little cocktail, feeling so sophisticated. Yeah, newspapers abroad. Thank you, Sandy Toxvig, for mentioning that in the TV show and reminding me of that. But also, it ties in. It's this time of year, it's our birthdays, it's Wimbledon, it's holidays in the sunshine. Oh, you know what, one of these days, maybe I'll get a train right across Europe again. It's a long way by train to go to Greece though, isn't it? But yeah, well worth it. So, Wimbledon hasn't started yet. It's going to start. I'm really, really excited because the news from Andrew Murray's camp is that he's feeling really fit and well. Sorry, more fit and well than he's felt for years. That's great. Really looking forward to seeing his match. I'm obviously a little bit heartbroken because, Federer has retired now, and yeah, there was never anyone like him. I don't think there ever will be anyone like him. Just the most beautiful player, both on court and such a beautiful man off court. So incredibly gentlemanly. Yeah. Oh, gonna miss him. And I think, yeah, Nadal's not playing this year, so who have I got to look forward to? Maybe finally all this tranche of younger players, aren't there? Tsitsipas, Zverev, team. Maybe one of those guys will finally get to the top. I mean, it's kind of unfair, isn't it, really, that there's been such a domination for 20 years. I've loved it. but it's sort of like no one else has stood a chance. So you know what, I love tradition, I don't like change, but yeah, maybe it's time to enjoy some new young players. And in the women's game, I hear that Venus is playing again this year. Can't get my head around that. Venus and Serena for me have been my Martina and Steffi were my early favourites, sort of back in those days, sort of pre-2000. But since 2000, I mean, the Williams sisters, I just adore them both. I'm gonna go emotional. I'm a bit emotional at the moment anyway, but the thought of Wimbledon without the Williamses and without Federer and without Nadal and without Murray, I can't bear it. Anyway, yeah, so we'll see what happens. I can't wait. I know that whatever happens, I'll thoroughly enjoy it. And it's already started, the Tour de France. I've had an early birthday present. Naughty me. I am so giddy with excitement about this. Do you remember, so you might not have seen it, but around Christmas time, I can't remember which video, it doesn't matter, but I was saying how I'd never had a selection box for Christmas and I really wanted one. I'm going to buy myself one. What fun. So this is something I've never had for any sport and I've always wanted. An official souvenir edition, this is the box, an official souvenir edition of an event. So, you know, I've never had an official Wimbledon programme. When I went to Wimbledon, I can't remember, I think I was broke. I was broke, I didn't buy one. And, you know, I've never had an official Olympics programme or anything like that. I've never had anything like that. Always wanted it. And a friend of mine knew that. So this is a present. What a great present. It includes, I won't take them out for now, there are souvenir beer mats. I'm not going to use them. There's a wall chart that's up already. It's a big wall chart, so there's a map of France, and then there's the route is illustrated on the map, and then below there's a box for each day for me to fill in. Just like, you know what's amazing is it would so have been me, but I never did a football sticker book as a kid. But a football sticker book, I would have loved that. But anyway, yeah. There's a little box each day for me to fill in to show the stage winner, whoever's in the different jerseys, so the yellow, the green, the white, the polka dot. Oh, I'm so excited. But the main part is this fantastic souvenir magazine that's got a profile on all the different teams. But this is the best bit. This was yesterday. There is a page a day for the race. So this is kind of some details. That's the profiles, so we can see where there are climbs and where the sprints are. And then, like proper mappage. And you all know what I'm like for a map. I blimmin' love maps. Oh my goodness. I mean, was there ever a more perfect gift? I don't think so. And again, I mean, it's not all of this joy, this excitement, it's not kind of sport specific. So if you're not into cycling, don't worry, it transcends. It's that joy of watching human beings striving to accomplish, and seeing their accomplishments is always amazing. For me, there's all that whole number cruncher thing. I love the history of each of the sports. I love it when they say, oh, you know, this is the youngest player by one day since 1985, or this is the furthest a wild card has gone in the tournament since Goran Ivanisevic, the most famous wild card winner ever. I love all that kind of facts and all the history of what I consider my sport and the tradition, and yeah, so numbers and maps and the actual sport itself. And the other thing I love about the Tour de France is, you know, it's a long day. Each day yeah, they normally set off about 11:30 UK time, normally wrapping up by about 4:30. So it's about a sort of 5.5 hour day of coverage. So, what can the commentators talk about for 5.5 hours? And chapeau to them. That means hats off. In the Tour de France, people say chapeau for hats off. Chapeau to the commentators for just keeping our interest for 5.5 hours. It's brilliant. What I love about it is we get history lessons as we're on the route. We get geography and geology lessons along the route. We get lessons in art and architecture. It's brilliant. And of course, it's like the most beautiful, glorious travel show to see. I mean, France is a stunningly beautiful country, isn't it? And it's so diverse, from the sort of the more gentle rolling landscape in the north to, obviously, there's quite a few big hills in the southeast and a few big hills in the west. And you've got the sort of the mountains of the Pyrenees, that dry, arid mountain. They're starting in Basque region this year, brilliant. So we're going to see a lot of the red and green flags. But we've got that kind of dry, arid Pyrenean mountainscape. And then we go over and we'll be in the Alps. I can't remember, I haven't studied the maps enough yet. Are they in the Jura? Can't remember. But yeah, a really diverse landscape. I think at the end of this first week they'll be in the Massif Central, which is volcano country. If you think of your bottle of Volvic with the volcano on the front. So yeah, it's more than just a bike race. I mean, what I love about the bike race anyway is it's because it's done over so many days. I was going to say politics. It's not politics. What is the word I'm looking for? Please somebody supply a word. It's the nuances of what they plan to do. Tactics, that's it. It's an incredibly tactical sport. But then the tactics can go out of the window when Vingegaard or Pogačar decide to just put their foot down. It kind of makes me laugh. I'm just saying their names out loud because last year, it's written Pogačar, but it's pronounced Pogačar. Is he Polish? Can't remember now, suddenly off my head. And then Vingegaard is the Dane. And there was a beautiful moment last year when, I mean, it's just between the two of them. Frankly, the rest, they should just all go home. But yeah, they were well out in the lead ahead of everybody else, and on this one particular day they were way ahead. They'd been racing each other up the mountain and no one else could keep up. So they summited and they were on the downhill, terrifying, and just the most beautiful, I'm going to get weepy again, I don't know what's wrong with me at the moment, beautiful moment when the two of them are flying down the mountain. Pogačar crashes. He was, so if this is the edge of the mountain falling off, here's the road, and this is the sort of the side of the mountain, so they're coming around like this, and I think it was sort of some gritty rubble at the edge of the road and his tyre just slipped out, but fortunately it sort of flung him that way rather than flinging him off the side of the mountain. Oh God. But yeah, he skidded and crashed, and Vingegaard out front stopped in his tracks. So instead of carrying on flying down that mountain, he stopped, turned around, waited for Pogačar to get back on his bike. Pogačar sort of just easing back on his pedals, came alongside Vingegaard. Just before he came alongside, Vingegaard sort of turned around and went like, "Are you okay?" sort of thing. Pogačar went, "Yeah, I'm okay." So they start getting slightly back up to speed again. They're side by side. And there's this moment where they just held hands across the road as if to say, should we race again? Are we ready to race? I'm going to get really emotional. It's just beautiful. A moment of a handhold to say, shall we race again? Are we ready to race again? Yeah, let's go for it. And then poof, they were off again. That's kind of like a life lesson, isn't it? Is that it's not about winning at all costs, and if winning means kicking someone when they're down, that's not winning, is it? If you try and win by making the most of someone else's bad moment, then you know what? You're the biggest loser ever. Yeah, life lessons from sport. There are always some. I was talking about it afterwards to Richard and Paul because it's like, I want to tell you about this really beautiful thing. It involves sport, but it's not about sport, so please listen. So they're not into sport really. And that's why quite often I want to talk about sport, but I almost want to say it's not about the sport. You don't have to be interested in sport to hear this story and get something from it. But anyway, I was relating the story to Paul, and he said, focaccia and vinegar. You've got focaccia and vinegar racing down a hill. It's like, no, pogaccia and vinegar. But yeah. So yesterday I watched the first stage, and obviously there was a lot of talk about, so now in my head they are focaccia and vinegar. I'm sure it's going to be between one of them, but also what's really exciting is Mark Cavendish, our very own Mark Cavendish. Now, I was just saying about how I'm a bit heartbroken that, you know, Federer, Serena, I won't be seeing them in tennis anymore. Oh. What also makes me a bit sad about the tour this year is Geraint Thomas, British rider, isn't riding. And of course, Chris Froome, I mean, he's never really recovered from that injury. Gosh, when was it? 2018, 2019? Can't remember now. But he's never really recovered from that injury, and I miss cheering for him. But we do still have Mark Cavendish. Oh, so by the way, I should just say, in case anyone wants to know, why would you want to know? I am Team Vinegar. I'm Team Vinegar. I'll be cheering for Vingegaard, but I will adore, love. I will love watching Pogacar too, because he's amazing. But yeah, in terms of Brit riders, there's Tom Pidcock, who hopefully will top 10, but never mind that. Mark Cavendish. Now, Mark Cavendish won't come in the top 10. He's not what we call a GC rider, general classification. He's not interested in that top 10. Mark Cavendish is a sprinter, and he currently is the equal record holder with the amazing Eddie Merckx for the number of stage wins. So just briefly, for anyone who doesn't know the Tour de France, it's done over 21 stages. So a stage basically equals one day of racing. So there might be a mountain stage, there might be a flat stage, there might be a bit of a both stage. The flatter stages, they tend to be known as, that it's going to be the sprint stage, where most people get to the line at the same time, so there's a sprint to the finish. So they'll cycle for 200 kilometres and then at the end, sprint. Madness. So Eddie Merckx, all-rounder. Mark Cavendish, sprinter. They have each won 34 stages, which is incroyable. I was listening to the commentary yesterday, and they were saying that they doubt, I do too, that we'll ever see anyone equal that record. Just one of those moments in history, rather like in tennis, the way, you know, Federer and Nadal have had all those victories. So yeah, so Cavers, he's on for his 35th stage win. I think there's about 5 or 6 possible stages where he can do it. So yeah, I'll be cheering for Focaccia and Vinegar for first place, but I'll be cheering for Cavers to beat that record. But even if he doesn't beat it, I don't care. He's amazing. So yes, I've got a wonderful oh my goodness, I'm not going to get onto these books again, I think. I've got a wonderful few days of sport coming up. It's always a great distraction if there's other things going on in one's mind, and if things are getting too much up here, I'll try and do other things at the same time, like sewing. But if things are getting too much in my head about other stuff, I'll say to myself, do you know what, I'm gonna stop, and I'm gonna actually sit and watch for a couple of hours, because it will engross me so much, I'll forget everything else. And that might seem quite indulgent to some people. Oh my goodness, Vivi. But if you think about it, think about how my year goes. I don't take annual leave. If I was working in an ordinary job, a regular kind of job, or an extraordinary job, but in the usual way of someone employs me. If I was an employee, I would have the equivalent of about, I think it works out about 6 weeks, doesn't it, with bank holidays too? 6 weeks of annual leave. So if I took the first 2 weeks of July off each year for my annual leave, no one would bat an eyelid. They don't necessarily have to know I'm taking 2 weeks off to sit and watch tennis all day or listen to it or whatever. But yeah, that's kind of, I work really hard up to the end of June, and then from about the middle of July onwards I'll be working really hard again. But I just give myself these couple of weeks, well actually the tour is 3 weeks, to indulge in something that I utterly love, that makes me really happy, that engrosses me, that blows my mind, that inspires me, that uplifts me. Just thinking about that crash again with Pogačar and Vingegaard. They didn't crash into each other, just to make that clear. It wasn't, Vingegaard didn't cut across him or anything. It was that slippy, slight kind of, what it's like on mountain roads, where at the edge of the road you get that kind of slightly loose gravel where the road has been chipped and worn. It's just sort of a skid out. I mean, amazingly, he wasn't hurt. Phew. So I don't think I'm going to talk about these books today, I don't have time, but I just wanted to share a couple of cards which I love, continuing that theme of things from paper. And I was saying the delight of receiving a card or a letter from a friend. And I had this gorgeous postcard from my friend Nancy. It's Mount Snowdon, that's the top of the mountain, and can you just see there? That's the wee little train that chugs right up to the top of Mount Snowdon. So this is our highest mountain in North Wales. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Not too far from where I grew up. So this was, it was an easy and lovely day trip. She made a note, she's written to me about how, and I loved this, so I wanted to share it because I thought, gosh, that's so true. It's one of those life-isms. I was saying how a journey up a mountain can be both arduous but also breathtakingly beautiful. So true. Weepy again. It's so true, isn't it, that not necessarily a literal journey, but a journey in life can be so hard but also beautiful at the same time. And I thought further on that because of the little trains there. I remember when I was much younger, climbing it, and you can climb it in a day. It's perfectly doable in a pair of trainers. You don't, although never underestimate weather and weather changing. When I say trainers, walking shoes. But I remember when I was young being a bit sniffy and a bit poo-pooey about the train, and people going up to the top in the train and thinking, they're cheating, lazy, cheating, da-da-da. But of course I have a different, I probably had that sort of thought when I was 18 or 19. But now I look at that and I think that's another life lesson, isn't it? Is if you're offered help and you need it, take it. So nowadays, there's no way I'd be able to climb Snowdon with my own 2 legs. But I could accept a bit of help from a train and I could still get to the top of Snowdon if I wanted to. So yes, oh my goodness, life lessons from sport, life lessons from postcards. If there's help available and you need help, take it. Thanks, Nancy, loved that. And then this last one, I need to just blow my nose, sorry. Hang on a tick, let me have a proper blow. I had this gorgeous little card from Lisa with, oh, she sent me some lovely little napkins, little serviettes, so sweet. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you for your note inside. But it says on the cover, oh, the light's going to be tricky. It says on the cover, advice from a glacier. Love it. You know, we're tying into the mountains, the glaciers in the mountains, and oh, I love it. I love it when everything, you know, everything ties together, but maybe the reason everything ties together is because these are my loves. These are all my loves. So it makes sense that the things I love somehow all interconnect. It would be odd to love a load of things and then love one thing over here that's completely disconnected from all the other things I love. That would be weird, wouldn't it? Anyway, this is so cute. I wanted to share it with you. It says, advice from a glacier. Glacier, glacier, however you want to say it. More life lessons. Life lessons from geology, geography now. Carve your own path. 3 cheers to that. Don't feel you have to do what everyone else expects of you and wants of you. Carve your own path. Go slow. Well, you know what? These days I do go slow, and that's absolutely fine. I still get where I'm going. Channel your strengths. That's a good one, isn't it? Yeah. What are your strengths? Use them. That's an interesting one, isn't it? Because, you know, perhaps we all have this at times in life where, in situations, work probably, where we're having to do things and it's not playing to our strengths. And I think when we're not playing to our strengths, everything takes more effort. When we're playing to our strengths, things are more effortless, aren't they? Like Federer's tennis looks effortless, doesn't it? Whereas if I was to play tennis, it would look awful and full of effort. So yeah, channel your strengths. Smooth the way for others. I like that. Keep moving forward. Here, here. Then I loved these last 2. Avoid meltdowns. Yeah. Hopefully we can avoid meltdowns by, you know, taking time at times to reflect and to recognise when things aren't right in ourselves and things aren't working right and things aren't working well, so that if we are regularly sort of taking time to reflect and sort of check in with ourselves, we can recognise problems and issues before they get too big and address them, and thereby avoiding meltdowns. And the last one, be cool. Do you know what though? At the moment, there's no chance to be cool. It's not hot. That's the thing. It's not hot. But the humidity, scorchio. All right, my lovelies. So it's a bit of a quickie just to have a little catch up. I wanted to say thank you for those lovely cards. Wanted to share my excitement for the sport to come. But as I said, by the time you see this, it might all be over. For all I know, Andy Murray will have been beaten in his first match, and Mark Cavendish is going to pull up injured in stage 2. I really hope not. I haven't jinxed them. But yeah, just sharing joy. And I'm going to see if I can find that photograph. I've got all my photos in a box over there that my sister took of me reading the Sun newspaper on our sister birthday's trip to Greece that year. God, that was such a good trip. That was such a great trip. On that trip, I took a day off on my own. It was quite a long way round. I think it was on my actual birthday. Yes, it was, because I actually went, the island we were staying on, Aegina, some people say Aegina, Aegina, which is quite near, it's near the mainland. It's quite a short hop to Piraeus, which is the harbour for Athens. So I'd taken a ferry quite early in the morning, really early in the morning, over to Piraeus, got to Athens, and then from Athens took a bus all the way round to Epidavros in the Peloponnese, got off briefly at the Corinth Canal. That was amazing. all of these places I've read about, I've seen pictures of, I've seen TV documentaries about, but nothing had prepared me for seeing it in real life. It's the most staggering sight, the most staggering feat of engineering. Anyway, so I'd gone sort of Corinth, and then and then further on to Mycenae to go and see the tomb of Agamemnon. That was really special. And then on down to Epidavros, where the massive amphitheatre is. So, you know, in those days I was fresh out of acting training and young actor. Of course I was going to go to Epidavros. That was wonderful. And then the plan was, and I can't remember the name of the harbour, but you come from Epidavros, get down to the coast, and there's another little port there. The idea was I was going to get the last ferry back from that port to Egina that night, and it was my birthday, because that was what the jeopardy was. But there were problems with the bus, and it was taking forever to snake down the side of the hill. And I was thinking, the ferry's going to go, and I could see down there, I could see the ferry. I was like, please, I mean, you know, small ferry. I was like, please don't go, I want to get back to my sis for my birthday night. Come on, boss. Anyway, I made it with seconds to spare. Even before the bus had pulled up, I was at the door of the bus. Driver, open the door. I don't care if you haven't stopped. Open the door. He opened the door, and I legged it. I mean, I'm not a sprinter. I'm a long distance girl, but I sprinted. Just made it onto the ferry, got the ferry back to Egina, met my sister where she said she'd be, in a little bar by the port, down by the sea. She said, did you have a nice day? I was like, yeah, I had a really nice day. I nearly didn't get back. Oh my goodness. Anyway, yeah, good stuff. Right, all right, lovelies, I will see you again at some point. I'll get round to these other two books at some point, but for now I'm going to say cheerio to you all. See you all again soon, maybe in the garden, don't know. We'll do something, we'll chat about something together. Until then, please look after yourselves and each other. Cheerio.